Witness me, smegma crazies, and welcome back to Mad Max.
We can and must lay a dirt gash's stronghold.
I will continue to ignore Gut Gash for now because, well, the jack isn't that impressive. Mostly today is going to be a clip show. So last time I got a few stronghold upgrades, like the scrap crew, which you noticed at the beginning gave me 500 scrap, which is a good amount for this point. I can get some upgrades with that. It's also been a while since I played on this file, so I don't actually know what I had available to upgrade. But, yeah, you can get at least 2 skill upgrades at 500 scrap. Anyway, mostly today is going to be driving around the Wasteland, heavily edited, and I'm going to be taking care of a bunch of the outlying scavenging locations. I found the got together the survey crew last time, which makes it more possible to find these areas without having to drive around, and they're pretty loaded. So I figured I'd cut around to different areas that actually had something interesting in them, like history relics.
Like the very earth was turning on us, killing us.
I also toyed around a little bit with photo mode during Max and Chum's big adventure, and I'll be posting those pictures that I got good ones of in the thread.
What is this?
But yeah, I'll fully admit I've had trouble, I don't know, talking about the game. I mean, there's still a lot to go, honestly. Like, the last act is very compressed, just like, it's very rushed, but even so, the game, it's fun to play, but man, it sometimes can be hard to talk about. In the course of doing all these different areas, I did get some more Wasteland rank, so go ahead and get some new upgrades. Max's knuckle dusters are getting to be pretty violent now. Then, of course, we get another holster? Bandolier. Not holster. We do have the option of, you know, giving Max some faster colors. Of course, it's not red, so we can't make him go faster, but, you know. I do have to point out one neat thing about upgrading Max's shotgun. It actually upgrades its visual appearance as well, and you see that in cutscenes. It's pretty neato.
There you are. Lungs still heaving, heart still beating. Yet you refuse to live. Perhaps you've forgotten who you are.
I know who I am.
If you knew, why would you wander like this?
I know where I'm going.
Tell me again that you're going to the Plains of Silence.
That's my destination. I'm gonna cross the Plains of Silence.
You know, I kind of like the tenor of Max's voice there. It kind of sounds like he's trying to convince himself. I don't really know who Griffa is supposed to portray or what kind of person he's supposed to be. Maybe he's like, you know, a coyote trickster or something of the Wasteland, but he seems to be a helper. Maybe. But yeah, I don't wind up doing anything really important as far as camps or scarecrows. I think maybe I take out 1 or 2 snipers, but it's only because they got in my way. So, you know, this is just mostly driving around to these different areas and picking up some of the scrap we've been missing. Because it doesn't seem like very much now. You know, with all of our scrap costs being like maybe 300 there, 400 there, it seems like a lot to start with. But By the end of the game, I think the most expensive upgrade is the V8 engine, getting something like, oh, I think it's in the thousands. I think it's maybe 6,000 for the highest tier, V8. And we'll get there eventually.
One day they all came down. All the planes. One by one.
I kind of wonder with how this car kind of stops on a dime after Max jumps out, if Chumbucket actually has a brake there on the back he's able to press. That'd be neat. I briefly had the thought of wondering if somebody's actually tried firing a fart through a gun before, and then I realize I live in the USA. Of course they have. Oh yeah, all in all this was about 2.5 hours of gameplay compressed down to about 20 minutes. And I mean, it wasn't boring to play at all. I mean, I had fun with it. But I can't imagine it would be the most entertaining thing to watch me drive around and just beat dudes up for 2.5 hours.
They didn't need dogs then.
Still, I didn't initially plan to go through and get all the history relics, but it seems like, you know, since I'm here, I could.
What treasure is that there? Oh, say it to everybody. Huh? Say it.
And hey, you know, I figured I'd go ahead and show off this new car body we find, too. So, I kind of wondered about that warboy seeming to fight alongside with the rest of us. And they just kind of, you know, disappeared. So, that's cool.
She'll incinerate the competition.
I believe I've mentioned it before, but this game is obviously very well programmed. And now I get to find out, you know, what the hell's going on with the car here. This is very much not intentional, I'm pretty sure, but you know what? It works. But yeah, we found a few upgrades on the car. For instance, I put together the Ripperoni wheel spikes, which will start to give us some grinding damage. And although the grinding damage still needs some work at this point, it's nothing amazing yet. And honestly, there's always going to be enemy vehicles that have better grinding capability than we do. It's a start. Plus, I'm pretty sure there's a challenge in the game called Strangers in the Night for grinding against a car for 5 seconds. So, you know.
We should check.
And here's something neat. Haven't encountered storms yet, but get ready for our first vehicular storm. Last time we encountered was all the way back at the start of the game. We were going to that camp, and the storm just kind of came out of nowhere and wanged us in the head. Well, it's going to do that now again. Only this time it's going to wang us in the car mostly. So, there's a reason to be out here in the storm, though, which, as soon as I get to some safety, I'll show you. In the meantime, enjoy this wonderful ambient noise. So, storms are very angry beasts.
Keep an eye
They
out.
don't like
No
you.
surprises.
But there's a reason to drive around in storms, which are these mother loot crates. And if you thought the scrap crew gave you a lot of scrap, ooh boy, each piece out of these gives you 100. And it's pretty good. This is a... Mother loot crates are very, what's the word? Lucrative? They're quite good. And especially if you're close by to a safe haven, to ride out a storm, pretty much all you have to do is just drive right into a camp nearby. Oh yeah, these things are good for you. It's, of course, possible to grab the mother loot crates while you're still in the storm, but it's a lot more dangerous to do so.
Get down! The marksman!
You know, because as much as I enjoy getting my loot, you know, I get the loot sweats. Yeah, sometimes taking a piece of debris to the head is not the best for Max's health. And you don't really have any time to recover, either. There's not a whole lot of time to stand still and drink water. There's hardly time to get the car fixed up before it's going to take another hit while it's standing still. Standing still in a storm is usually a bad idea. But, you know, again, loot sweats. But yeah, look at that, 900 scrap, just from driving through a storm. I'll take it. At this point, I don't even remember what upgrades I have unlocked, so I'm just gonna... I'll find them. Of course, eventually I realize, oh wait, now I've got Harpoon upgrades to get. This first upgrade here will be a big one, because this will allow us to start taking down strong structures. Some of the scarecrows we've been passing by already are classified as strong scarecrows versus weak scarecrows. Same thing can go for gates as well. Having that improved Harpoon will allow us to take those down.
First all sea life disappeared and then the water. Our origin's gone forever.
There is one more tier of gate and everything else, which is massive, and that one requires yet another Harpoon upgrade to be able to get. And this is the first scrapulence I've seen outside of that first one with that very first balloon we sent up. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab it, because scrapulence is also a good source of scrap. Of course, the danger with a scrapulence while you're trying to track one down is trying to make sure that you don't, you know, accidentally break it. The scrap pallet in the back of the scrapulence is actually pretty fragile, and trying to bump and ram the car, not the best idea if you want to keep it intact. And of course, as long as the scrap in the back isn't intact, well, you're not getting anything out of it. So, probably the best way to go about it is to try and drag the driver out, either shoot him or, you know, what have you. And once you do that, you can take over the car at your leisure. I think this may be the first time that I've commandeered a enemy vehicle in the LP. The game has a sort of a camouflage system. It doesn't work very well. In fact, it's probably never a good idea to rely on the camouflage system because it basically never works. Yeah, you didn't want to watch me driving all that way back. Trust me, nothing important happened. But yeah, as I mentioned, turning into scrapulence, pretty good source of income. There's 500 right there. So sometimes there's random things you can find out and about that will get you more scrap. Sometimes you'll find a storm, and if you're willing to weather it, sometimes it goes okay. And then sometimes you just get hit in the head repeatedly and don't have a chance to heal yourself. Not that I've had that happen to me, no siree. That right there, the fortified structures and massive structures will be what we're moving towards next. But, you know, harpoons do what they do. This is a pretty interesting history piece to get to. It requires a little bit of a detour. The only indication it's up here is a piece of scrap all the way down on the ground below it.
I doubt a fiberglass helmet would stop a bullet. Yeah, he probably didn't survive long.
Max doesn't seem to have a very high opinion of other people's survival tactics. So, I also found another interesting thing here. Sometimes out in the Wasteland you'll find additional vehicles. In this case, I found this one, the Golden Tuska. You don't encounter this vehicle anywhere else in the game. Sometimes you'll find them out in the Wasteland and you have to return them to your stronghold, or somebody's stronghold, to add them to your garage. I want to say they've also got races to complete in the death races, but yeah, this thing looks pretty nice. It looks like one of the Scrotus henchmen really pimped out his vehicle here. I mean, it's got a nice shiny and gold finish. That's somebody's pimpmobile right there.
They're using the skins for leather.
I kept this one because I thought that was creepy. You've got all these human bodies here that have been skinned for human leather, which, you know, I guess out in the Wasteland you gotta do what you gotta do to survive. And then they've got their little carrion pit here. What are you gonna do? Eat the bodies? We don't eat the long pork. Of course, something else that's a little strange about the game is the jumping mechanic here is obviously not very good, but sometimes they put these history relics in weird to find places. I think somebody compared it to mountaineering in Skyrim, where you just kind of run at a vertical surface until it lets you up at a certain angle. Yeah.
Plague, riots, starvation, war, pestilence. It all came down around us.
So yeah, Max is very much a driver, but not a mountaineer. Which is fine.
People ate their fill and threw out the rest.
I feel like the implication there is that they just ate that dude's wife, Angie, but I can't be sure.
Stay. Grab the car.
Of course I will.
Ferals are little jerks. I think I mentioned before, they're kind of like those little psychos in Arkham Asylum. They're just the worst. However, this is a nice time to get some maggot meal.
The wasteland taketh, and the wasteland giveth.
Please join me next time. Until then, stay thirsty.